Just imagine, on a Saturday afternoon, you decide to go hiking. The trail forks, and you take the one that you don't know as well. You end up getting lost. Minutes and then hours pass, and the sun sets. You start to panic. What are you supposed to do? Shelter first, right? Or was it food? By now, a day or two has passed. No one has come yet. You lose a lot of your hope of rescue. And just like that, your chances of survival go from challenging to slim. You see, survival skills are still important to learn in modern times. They help with preparedness, toughness, and quick thinking. And, in the rare scenario where you may be alone in the wilderness, there's nothing better than being prepared, right? A great survival story I like to draw from is about Ricky McGee. In 2006, he was driving through the Australian outback. Some hitchhikers signaled to him, and he decided to pick them up. Next thing he knew, he woke up in a shallow-dug grave with plastic over him. Some dingoes were scratching at the plastic. He got out and got to work, building a type of basic shelter called a humpy. For food, he survived on frogs, leeches, and snakes. Every night, he would barricade the entrance to his shelter in order to keep dingoes from eating him while he slept. How long do you think he would survive? Well, Mr. McGee survived for an impressive 71 days before some workers at a local cattle ranch found him, and he lost 100 pounds in the process. This is a good example of why it is important to know survival skills. Had Mr. McGee not been experienced in such skills, he most likely would never have lasted as long. But how can they help you outside of a survival scenario? Well, the first trait I brought up in the intro was preparedness. Ideally, before any activity, you want to be prepared, right? Packing a backpack before school, making sure you know your schedule, you get the point. Making a survival kit can help you both learn about tools and materials and their many uses, as well as being a good way to practice organization and packing. Two great things to know in your everyday life. Toughness is up next. Spending time outside in nature to do things like practice climbing trees, starting a small controlled fire, and making animal traps are all ways to practice both essential survival skills and encourage self-dependence and grit. Finally, there's quick thinking. If you are allowed to, you can try catching and releasing a fish with your bare hands. It's very difficult, but it is possible. Or maybe, if you have an interest in archery, set up a target and imagine hunting a big animal like a deer. Try learning to tuck and roll after a fall. All of these can increase reaction time. On the other hand, something as simple as taking 5 minutes to plan out your day is useful both in the wilderness and in real life. Time management is a major aspect of thinking quickly, as you can't work well if your mind is jumbled with thoughts of everything at once. Remember that small scenario I gave at the beginning with the panicked hiker? I'll teach you some things that can hopefully help you, too, in your lives if you ever find yourself in such a situation. Where do you start? It's food, right? Actually, it's a bit different than what a lot of people might believe. The first thing you should always check for is if you or someone else need first aid. If someone is injured, you need to help them to the best of your ability. It's going to be very hard to survive with a broken leg. Then comes the will to survive. In a survival scenario, your mind is going to be totally panicked, and you need to calm yourself fast. All the knowledge and strength in the world won't help you if your mind is in a state of panic. To calm yourself, crouch or sit down and just take deep breaths. Do it with me. In for 3 seconds. Hold it for 3 seconds. And out for 3 seconds. Repeat that until you've calmed yourself down. Accept that you're lost and alone, unless you're with other people, in which case, good for you, it's going to be easier to survive. Survival experts today say that if a rescue party doesn't find you in the first week, it's unlikely they will circle back and find you in a short amount of time, in which case, you'll have to settle in for the long haul. After applying first aid as needed and calming yourself, then come the fairly normal things. Find a source of water as soon as possible. Water's your new best friend. You can only survive about 3 days without it, which means finding water will boost your chances of survival significantly. However, you will have to make sure of 2 things. Is it salt water, and is it sitting still? If it is either of those, do not drink it. You shouldn't drink unclean water anyway, but it's worse if either of those factors are involved. Salt water will dehydrate you, and water that is sitting still will cultivate bacteria growth much faster than moving water. Also, it's important to settle down not too close to a water source, as hostile predators will most likely be there. Up next is fire. Fire is extremely useful. First, it can purify water. Boiling water in a pot will get rid of most germs, and by collecting the condensation that can form on a lid, you can turn salt water into fresh water. During the night or in cold environments, it can be used for warmth. Make sure to build a barrier and roof if possible to prevent the wind and rain or snow from putting it out. It can also cook food. That squirrel, fish, or whatever other animal you might have caught will be much better for you and will taste much better if cooked rather than raw. Fire can also be used to keep predators away most of the time. You can use it to smoke out small caves. If there's a cave you think you could use as shelter, use fire to smoke out any possible animals. Speaking of shelter is a big aspect of survival, as I'm sure you know. A place to protect you from the elements is very important, as wind, snow, and rain will make you very cold and sick to the point of frostbite and hypothermia. There are several different types of shelter. A lean-to is fairly self-explanatory. To make one, construct a wall frame, lean it against something sturdy, and then reinforce said wall frame with leaves, mud, etc. A snow shelter is also very simple, but, as the name suggests, it can only be used in certain environments. Dig out some snow so you have a trench about equal to the length of your body and deep enough to sit and lay down in. Pack in more snow to the walls to keep them sturdy. Then, make an entrance and add sticks, leaves, and more snow to create a strong roof. Be sure to keep yourself off the ground when sleeping to prevent most heat loss. And there you have 2 types of shelters that can be used to protect yourself from nature in a survival scenario. There's only one more thing on this list. That's right, it's food. I put it at the bottom because, contrary to popular belief, you can actually last quite a while without food so long as you have water. A healthy person can survive about 3 weeks before starving. Because of this, it's not considered very important to most survival experts early on. However, this does not mean it's not a priority. If you're in a good enough position, make sure you have at least one reliable source of food. For example, the bark of birch trees is edible. Traps can be used to catch small animals, and if you have a reliable weapon, larger animals such as stingrays and deer can be killed and eaten. If you are just lost in an area you had prior knowledge on, it's good to know which plants are edible and which are not. Now that we've gone over the basics of survival, I'll show you all a basic survival kit and explain the components. You can find these sometimes on airplanes and boats in the case of an emergency. Let's see what we have in here. A first aid kit containing gauze, alcohol wipes, and Band-Aids for treating wounds and other injuries. Of course, we have a water bottle. Some waterproof matches will come in handy if you ever need to transport your gear across a body of water and you want to start a fire later. A battery-powered flashlight will be important because during the night you're not going to be able to see well and might twist your ankle if you have low visibility. Next, we have a compass. A compass is very useful for navigation, and I highly recommend you know how to use one. Next, we have some paracord. Paracord can be used to construct shelter, it can be used to tie together tools, and many other things. Next, we have a small mirror. Mirrors will be useful to signal for help by reflecting light, or by concentrating sunlight, it can start a fire if you don't have any matches. And if you have the time, you can use it to clean yourself, for example, shaving if you have a knife. Speaking of the knife, we have one right here. It's a great all-around tool for survival, as it will help you with hunting, skinning and gutting animals. Unfortunately, that's a major part of gathering food. And it can be used to help construct shelter. To wrap up, even in the modern times, survival skills are extremely important to learn and use. They will build character, preparation, quick thinking, and toughness. And the chances of being stuck in an unfortunate situation are low, but never zero. Be prepared just in case. Thank you.